It's great to be here at the Project Lead the Way Summit in Indianapolis with so many Project Lead the Way students, educators, and partners. We have an exciting panel for you today, highlighting the important connections between your Project Lead the Way pathway experiences and great careers for our students. Project Lead the Way has a long tradition of partnering with business and industry, and we work hard to understand the future of work so we can ensure our students and teachers have the most up-to-date, relevant experiences available. Our goal is to prepare students with the knowledge and skills that will help them today, tomorrow, and most importantly, through the course of their adult lives. We have a great panel for you with 3 young people, a Project Lead the Way freshman, and 2 PLTW alums who are involved in the Toyota Advanced Manufacturing Technician Program. We also have 3 industry experts who will share their insights on transitioning from classroom to career. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Marley, Austin, Kara, Dennis, Beth, and Pat. So first, I'll just start off by saying thank you. We're so grateful that you're here. This connection that we're going to talk about for the next half hour is really core to what we do at Project Lead the Way. And before we jump into the meat of the conversation, we'll just ask each of you to just provide a quick introduction. I'll start with you, Marley.
Hello, I'm Marley Jenkins. I'm an instructor at Bluegrass Community and Technical College in Georgetown, Kentucky. I am an instructor in the AMT program. I'm also a former graduate from the AMT program where I was sponsored by Toyota, and also a former PLTW student from Harrison County High School, also in Kentucky.
Great. Thank you, Austin.
Good afternoon. My name is Austin Malone. I'm an advanced manufacturing technician at Toyota Motor Manufacturers of Kentucky. I'm in my 5th semester at Bluegrass Community Technical College and will graduate in May. And I graduated Grant County High School in 2017, where I was a PLTW student.
Great. Kara?
Hi, my name is Kara Hines. This is my first year with Project Lead the Way. I'm a freshman at Harrison County High School in Cynthiana, Kentucky.
Great, thanks.
So I'm Dennis Parker. I work for Toyota North America. I developed fame in the AMT program as a career pathway program for us.
Hi everyone, my name is Beth Spurgeon and I work at the largest company you've never heard of. It's ArcelorMittal. We're the largest steel and mining company in the world, and I lead their corporate responsibility and sustainability initiatives in North America.
Good afternoon. Happy Engineers Week. My name is Pat Barnes and I work at John Deere at our world headquarters in Moline, Illinois. And I have the amazing job of managing, hopefully, and inspiring the next generation of innovators. And we do that through a strategic plan and supporting youth education, through our investments, through our partnerships, such as with Project Lead the Way, and then another important part for us is through our employees as volunteers.
That's great. So thanks for the quick introductions. I think we'll start down here with the students. And what I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about is your classroom experience before and after Project Lead the Way and how it's impacted your career goals.
So I'll start and highlight more on the career goals. So before Project Lead the Way, I come from a family of a long line of educators. So I always thought that I was going to become a teacher. When I was in kindergarten, I would have told you I was going to be a kindergarten teacher, and it would just go on as the grades I was entering. And then when I took Project Lead the Way, it really opened my mindset into what's really out there, and I was exposed to the AMT program. So I entered the AMT program thinking I would be in manufacturing and engineering, and I kind of went back to my passion of education, but because of Project Lead the Way, now I'm teaching in a STEM field and more hands-on lab area, a lot like your Project Lead the Way classes.
Yeah, so you are teaching. You're teaching adults now. That's great. Austin and Carol, hear from you.
So before PLTW really came into my life, I would sit in a bland classroom where I would hear a lecture, take a test, pass, and move on. But once I actually got into PLTW, it was absolutely fantastic. I have a fantastic teacher for it too. Everything was hands-on. We worked together in teams, and overall it just expanded my mind to what's really out there. And you know, I had so many options to go through because I took all the engineering courses we had. I could have done civil, I could have done electrical, mechanical, but overall I chose the AMT program, and that's what I love doing today, and hopefully we'll still love doing for the next 40 years.
That's great. Kara, you're several months in now to your high school career. What would you
Yes.
say about that?
My classes are also much more hands-on than they normally would have been without Project Lead the Way. And they combine subjects like math and science together in a way that has more real-world applications than most of my classes would.
Yeah, that's what I hear from students frequently, is that it's relevant. They're learning not just how to do the math, but how it helps them solve a problem or do something, solve a problem that's worth solving. So let's talk to our industry experts here just for a moment. I know companies are competing for talent all across the country, all around the world, and talk about maybe some of those opportunities, the bridges that you're building back into the pre-K-12 and post-secondary settings. And maybe start down here with you, Pat.
Sure. Well, I just mentioned it starts with us, with college students. We have a very highly rated, strong internship program. So this summer we'll have over 600 college interns in the U.S. alone, and about 70% of those are majoring in STEM. So it's really mission critical for us, supporting innovation. We also have a significant number of college students that work in part-time jobs. But from a K through 12 perspective, we really see that as strategic. And so obviously we provide grants and things like that with Project Lead the Way, but the other way is connecting to the relevance like you talked about. So providing tours at John Deere facilities to see how advanced manufacturing actually operates. Classroom speakers, such as during this week, during National Engineers Week. Then the one that I would say is probably one of our top ones is mentoring. And so we have a huge number of employees through various education programs that help students, because often students have never worked with somebody in a technology field or engineering. And so, for example, we support over 700 FIRST teams with over 300 employees as mentors for those teams. And that's just one small example of several different things that we support. And then the other thing that we're working on is to engage with this large number of students, because we're reaching over 50,000 youth with our global STEM program, many of them in high school. So we're doing more things, we would call early talent, with engaging with high school students, including with real-world projects, and then now with some paid internships.
Yeah, that's great. Beth?
Awesome. Very similar. So for us, we have two main routes to get into ArcelorMittal in the United States. The first is the Steelworker for the Future program. That's a 2.5-year community college program, and I'm proud to say that all successful applicants thus far that have completed the program have been offered positions at ArcelorMittal. And then we also have our campus partnership program, where we're recruiting from specific colleges, four-year colleges in the United States, to come in as associate level engineers. And so while those are the main pathways, very similar to you guys, we have very strong community investment partnerships that start as young as elementary school, focused on projects like Project Lead the Way and our other investments.
Well, I know just here in the last couple of years, Beth, as the relationship has grown, and each of these companies doing great work supporting students all across the country. Quickly, already ArcelorMittal working with elementary, middle, and high school programs in I think at least 7 states, and same thing for John Deere and certainly Toyota. Dennis, you all at Toyota announced this year a pretty phenomenal development, which is this pre-K to master's program. So you're reaching back early and you're sustaining that learning and talent development all the way across. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, Dave, that's right. So I'm going to start at the top of this. So at Toyota, like any manufacturing company, like any company that has technology, we have a real keen need for people who are interested in technology and STEM. You might think engineers and technicians. And so we do have what you might consider to be a traditional engineering co-op program, where we go to colleges and we bring co-ops in, and we hope they come into a career in the company. But what we're really doing for our long-term solution is we have developed what we call the FAME Career Pathway. And the whole concept of this is that we will make a series of programs, or we will partner with people who make phenomenal programs and build a pathway that will serve all of that. So the HUB program, we call Advanced Manufacturing Technician, AMT. Austin, Marley have already talked about either being in that program, or in Austin's case is still in it. And then we work with pre-K to 12. We work with Project Lead the Way, incredible partner. No need to reinvent the wheel when you have someone who's already doing it the best it can be. And so we engage our pre-K to 12 pathways that lead into that AMT program. That brings technicians, that brings what we think are global best entry-level technicians, the best that you can get in the world right at that point of entering the field for work. And experience has shown us they do an incredible job. The performance factors that we're getting from them are beyond what we ever imagined. But then we also have built into that, we have continuing education for them. These are eager learners. Marley doesn't want to stop learning. Austin, Kara, they don't want to stop learning. So we already have built-in seamless pathways that can take them and continue them on to bachelor's and master's degrees, related information, good for them and good for us, carries their credits forward, and it's seamless. Let's put that all together. For the first time this year, we announced it in Kentucky in what we call our Bluegrass chapter. Harrison County was our pre-K to 12 partner. Northwood University was our post-secondary bachelor's and master's level. And of course, Bluegrass Community and Technical College, where Marley teaches, is our community college partner. And we announced what we believe is the first in the U.S., grade over grade, year over year, partner over partner, pre-K to master's career pathway. We don't mean on paper. We had representative students from 4 years old right to our master's level students.
That's great. That's great. Let's talk for a second. I heard the students, Marley and Austin and Kara, talk for a moment about the other things they're doing and learning in their Project Lead the Way classrooms. We heard and we saw it on stage earlier today with the students and their presence, communication skills. Could we just talk about the professional behaviors of those other things, sometimes called soft skills, but I know Toyota calls them professional behaviors. If you'd each just touch briefly on what you're looking for in the talent pipeline there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kick that off. So I love this question because what soft skill isn't important, right? They all are so much so. And I think for our industry in particular, I think a lot of people think of the steel industry as this backbreaking work, and it's not innovative and it's not tech, and that's exactly the opposite of what we are. We are innovation, we are tech, and it is something where it's not the grandfather's, oh, you're hauling stuff or you can be an engineer and sit in a corner and not collaborate. It's about collaboration. It's about communication. And it's coming to the table and knowing that this is a real job. You need to put your full effort in. You know that at that day one, you may not be able to do the most creative work of your entire career, but you are going to have the opportunity to do so. And learning from all of the next generation, our average age is 49 in our company right now, and being able to collaborate across generations and say, I'm going to take your learnings and move forward with that those are the kids that really thrive.
Yeah, that's great. Dennis, a little bit more from you on that?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer this from a slightly different direction. So I agree with Beth. Soft skills are critical. They have tremendous impact on what actually happens at work. So if we're developing this whole education development program to achieve the kind of employees we want, maybe it's no surprise that we built them into the system. And so maybe one of the best ways to answer this is to say what we actually teach and develop in the AMT program again that addresses soft skills. There are actually 18. Don't worry, I'm not going to name all of them for you. But we put 6 at the top. That's kind of our flag we carry for that. So critical skills that have impact on work and make a difference. Attendance, initiative, diligence, interpersonal relationships, teamwork, and communication. That's both verbal and written. So that's our starting point for that, and we integrate it into our people development activity.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. Pat, I know those are things that you're thinking about at John Deere as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what they both said. Maybe just to reinforce, the thing is, I did interviews for quite a number of years, and often it wasn't the technical skills, it was the soft skills that would differentiate candidates we would hire. So that just kind of reinforces how important. A couple I would highlight. One is leadership. And students can do that at any age, in high school, in college, et cetera. And they can do it through clubs, through organizations, things outside the classroom where they can show initiative and they can learn, and it's a development opportunity. So I think that's really key. Dennis talked about working on a team. The thing I would mention there is at John Deere, many companies, you work with a very diverse group, very diverse teams. In our case, often employees work with people from around the world, different time zones, different cultures, and often virtually. So that's something you need to work on. And then finally, flexibility is really important because things change every day, and so that impacts people, what they're working on, that type of thing. So having that attitude of being willing to be flexible is very important. And then finally, being a lifetime learner, because whatever you learn in high school, whatever you learn in college is a starting point. That's not the end destination. I know you all know that, but it's so important.
You know, one thing I'll just add, because the timing is perfect, we have Project Lead the Way's new assessment here, right? So it's not enough just to measure what a student knows, to your point, about engineering or biomedical science or computer science, but being able to evaluate and to measure critical thinking, ethical reasoning, persistence. And that's exactly what we're doing in the new assessment. We've tested, had that out for 27,000 students so far. We'll have a big window this spring. We have a large group of folks here who are doing item writing for that, business, industry, education, leading experts from around the world on it. We're really excited. Kara's going to be able to send that report out to John Deere, Toyota, and ArcelorMittal once she finishes her pathway work. So let's come back down here, Marlene Austin, and I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about how Project Lead the Way prepared you for college, for internships, for some of those other opportunities where those skills were so important, those technical skills, those professional skills.
So I felt like my transition from my Project Lead the Way classes and program into the AMT program was almost seamless. So my Project Lead the Way classes were a lot of group work, team activity, being able to work with each other, being able to present out about that project once we finished, being able to problem solve, okay, that didn't work this time, what's another way in which maybe we can achieve that? So in the AMT program, all of those things were expected, so I had a good foundation from Project Lead the Way, and then at that time I was just able to build upon my experiences.
Yeah, that's great. Austin?
Yeah, so Project Lead the Way prepared me for my post-secondary education and my career because, I mean, I'm learning problem solving in Project Lead the Way, how to work in teams. Before Project Lead the Way, I would work with the same buddy I always worked with from kindergarten to 8th grade. And Miss Rowan, Chastity Rowan, wherever she is, she could stand up. Yeah, there she is. Anyhow, She broke me away from that shell. She got me working with people I didn't even know and how to work in teams with people I don't know, just like I do at work and school sometimes, because you're not going to be able to work with the same people every day. That Toyota Motor Manufacturers of Kentucky plant is huge. You know, I could be working with someone different the next day. And Project Lead the Way students hold themselves to a higher standard. So the professional behaviors you're going to get in Project Lead the Way just come through that, I guess. I don't know how to word that too well, but anyhow, they get stuff turned in on time. They show up on time. They don't wear ripped up jeans to school. They just hold themselves to a higher standard. And, you know, thanks to Miss Rowan, she got me involved with engineering, kept me through it all the way, and taking things apart, putting things back together, got me to where I'm at now.
You know, let's follow up on that a little bit, and Kara, I'd invite you in just to talk about how your professional or some extracurricular experiences, those outside the classroom, have differed maybe from some of your experiences in maybe a more traditional classroom.
Well, for me, Project Lead the Way gave me the opportunity to take a trip to the Toyota plant that's close to our school, and I got to see how they build the cars. And it helped me to see how the math and science I was combining in my PLTW classes actually would apply in the workforce. And I could see, it was an amazing experience. I could see how I could go straight from a PLTW class to the workforce. It helped highlight all that.
Were you surprised by what you saw at the Toyota plant?
Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't been out to see these plants, it's really not maybe what you have in your mind about advanced manufacturing. I took my kids there, and the robotics, the logistics, all the things that are happening all at the right time, it's really pretty phenomenal. And the technical work that's happening in the teamwork. Pretty exciting. I'd love to go back down to our industry experts. You know, talent, we talked about it earlier. You talked about your strategies for getting into some of these pre-K to post-secondary experiences. What does recruiting look like? You know, how do you connect with talent earlier? What advice? We have a lot of schools in here. Many of them are in communities where they're doing some version of this. Some are trying to get started. So I'd love to hear what you're doing on the talent recruitment side, but also hear your advice for those that are in the audience. And maybe Dennis, if you don't mind kicking us off, and then we'll work our way down.
So really this question is all about this career pathway that I've talked about, the same career pathway. So we have this connected stream, if you want to think of it that way, in one case all the way down from pre-kindergarten up. And by the way, what are we doing with K-5 and launch. We're not talking to them about Toyota manufacturing. We just want to get them burned up about STEM, right? But what we're doing is we really then begin carrying that interest and that engagement forward. And so as they come forward, middle school, we're going to introduce manufacturing now. Could be pretty cool. Lots of robots, technology, everything that Dave and Kara just noticed, right? And so that brings us all the way up to the high school, at which we actually have a recruiting point. And then here's another key. We actually lead the recruiting with our employers. We're not waiting to see who decides to come to the school. So I'll go back to Austin's point here a minute ago. All those things he was telling you, that's what we want. That's also why we think Project Lead the Way rocks. And so that's why we have the partnership. But now you see how that's actually integrated into really changing how we bring people into the company. Much more engaged, much more interactive, reaching down into the education system, being partners, and basically guiding, encouraging, and enlightening along the way, right up until we come to the programs that now prepare you for our work.
Yeah, that's great. Pat?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, a key part of our recruiting strategy is still colleges, and it's very important. What we did do is several years ago, we shifted our funding from our John Dow Foundation strictly to youth education. We still fund universities, but through a different stream, because we think it's so fundamental, so foundational, and so important for the youth in our home communities. And so similar to what Dennis talked about, we're supporting K through 12, and the trend over the last couple of years has been increasing the support at a younger age. And part of that is to provide access to students that otherwise typically wouldn't have it. And then the other one is diverse talent in terms of females in engineering, females in computer science, excuse me, and then people of color. It's just so important. So for example, we support Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day. We have 20 events and 1,300 girls, and that's one example because they're great careers, but there's work to be done in that area. The other one I would briefly mention also, and this ties with what Dennis talked about and Beth, is mid-skilled jobs. Jobs in advanced manufacturing are very important. They are STEM jobs, and often they get overlooked, like everyone needs to have a 4-year degree. And so that's an increasing area of focus that we have where we're partnering and providing opportunities, such as a 6-week certification for welding for high school seniors, and now we have several of those now working at John Deere, so that's an example.
Yeah, that's great.
I feel like they already did such a great job explaining it. I'm going to take the other side of what advice I would give for teachers who are looking, or administrators who are looking to partner with us. And I want to start off by saying thank you, seriously. And if I ever thought I would say thank you to a bunch of STEM teachers and academics, this would be like my worst nightmare. So this is like a sweating dream for me in high school. And I'm really excited to be here today. And I'm so happy to thank you, because there's no us without you. And I feel like it's so easy to overlook the fact that, yes, you're preparing the next generation, and you're so granular, and you're in it day in and day out. And we're looking at it from such a huge macro level and saying, we need the next generation, and the only way to do it is to figure out the best way to partner with you. And we know how much is on your plate. You're trying to just get these minds to the next day and build and grow our talent and our next future of this great country. And so I think the biggest thing, and I think this reiterates a little bit of what's already been said, but partner with us in thinking about 4 years isn't the only path. I think it's coming, to us just as we're coming to you, and partnership events, and the more that we can work together and how can we help you get to that next level is huge. And also diversity. It's huge for us, and I think it's huge for all of us, knowing that we have in manufacturing in general an aging workforce, and the workforce that's not very diverse.
Yeah, and we're starting earlier to that very point to try to get more kids excited, gain confidence early in these areas so that they can have opportunity, right? Without these skills, there's a lifetime of consequences for students. There just aren't going to be as many opportunities for them. Dennis, you were going to add?
Yeah, so I want to add one thing to that, to Beth's message. We don't have to think, it's about 4 year with that. So I'm going to come back briefly to this pathway we've talked about. First, we have, we've talked about Toyota. We have about 300 employer partners that work with us on this. It's really not about Toyota, it's about FAME. The second thing I'm going to note is when these students graduate the 2-year program, the 2-year stage, they're going to go into jobs that the first full year of employment are going to make $50,000 to $75,000 Think about how many bachelor's degrees might not do that. But then, of course, if you want to go further, I've already noted, we can go further, right? So one of my pieces of advice is really open your mind to some alternative pathways from what we've thought in the past. Exactly what Beth said, because they've got some pretty bright futures.
Yeah, and we heard earlier from folks that said just don't be afraid to ask. So I know that classroom teachers, school administrators, the day is full. There's no one's looking for something extra to do. But when you have an opportunity to reach out to the chamber or workforce development or economic development, invite them to come in, hear from your students, see the work firsthand, and all kinds of opportunities seem to flow from that. I'm going to jump ahead just with probably our last question here and for our students and ask them, we heard a little bit of this a moment ago from Austin, but I'd like for you to think about if there is someone that has helped you, to this point, as maybe a mentor, and just the lessons that you may have learned there. That's one of the things that we want is we want to help the best teachers in the country work with the best students in the country and get inspired about the work that we do. So we'd love to hear you talk if there's someone that's been a mentor for you and maybe a lesson or lessons learned.
So I would kind of say that all of my STEM, all my science and math traditional teachers have all been great mentors for me in keeping my interest into the STEM field. But a huge mentor to me was my Project Lead the Way instructor, Mr. Hurst. And he always expected me to set high standards for myself and work to achieve those high standards, and making sure that I knew that I had the confidence that I was able to achieve those high standards and not and pushing myself to the greatest ability.
Yeah, that's great.
Miss Rowan, she pretty much opened up and expanded my mind to what all could be out there. Because before I walked in Project Lead the Way, I had no clue what I was going to be at all. And she opened my mind up to all that there is available. And one of the valuable lessons she taught me was I screwed up a lot. Like, I broke a lot of stuff. But she always got me to never quit, to always try it again, try something new, and to keep going until it works. And I did, and I'm still doing it.
That's great. Thanks, Austin. Very good.
For me, I guess my PLTW teachers, they're always pushing me to be better. And then, of course, my parents. My parents support me in everything I do. They push me a lot to be better than I am.
That's great. I was going to say it doesn't have to be a Project Lead the Way teacher, but there are bonus points if it is, right? So, one thing that this conversation shows me, and I hope it shows the audience, is it just kind of confirms how important these connections are. Pre-K-12 education, post-secondary education cannot happen in isolation. This is all of our work. And I encourage you, we have a great podcast we just launched, Inspired. We have some videos that are highlighting these relationships with the world's best companies who are out here to help us solve problems. How do we feed 7.2 billion people? How do we provide clean water to communities, not just in the U.S., but around the world? There are some great videos highlighting that, and of course, the Project Lead the Way blog. So please join me in thanking our panel.
Check my hand.
Good to see you. Come on, let's go. Yeah! Let's go! All right, okay.
As I have shared, my time as a Project Lead the Way student provided me with invaluable career learning experiences that helped me cultivate my interest in technology and business operations and helped me get where I am today. I am so grateful for the opportunities that have been afforded to me through PLTW and the Toyota Advanced Manufacturing Technician Program, and at this time would like to help recognize the PLTW partners who are providing students like myself with the expanded access to transformative experiences in the classroom and beyond. First, we thank Toyota, which has partnered with PLTW to create manufacturing-focused career pathways that, as of this fall, extend from pre-K to master's. PLTW is a foundation of these new pathways, offering the pre-K to 12 portion of the module. Toyota also supports PLTW programs in schools across the country. Next, we would like to recognize Chevron, which is supporting the Spanish language translation of Project Lead the Way Launch and Project Lead the Way Gateway. The company's partnership with us also provides programs access to thousands of students and teachers in PLTW classrooms in 10 states. Since 2007, Lockheed Martin has partnered with PLTW to educate and inspire tomorrow's scientists, engineers, and mathematicians. This year, Lockheed Martin High School internship program celebrated a major milestone by welcoming a record-setting 47 high school interns and for the first time extending full-time job offers to the program graduates. Autodesk is a long-standing partner that is helping inspire the next generation to imagine, design, and create a better world. Through this partnership, PLTW students in thousands of schools across the country have access to Autodesk 3D design software, the same software used by industry professionals in many fields. Verizon Innovative Learning partners with PLTW to ensure students have access to the CS curriculum and the skills they need to succeed. Through this partnership, tens of thousands of students have had the opportunity to develop in-demand computer science knowledge and skills will serve on many future educational and career paths they take. Next, we would like to recognize the Kern Family Foundation, which has been a longtime partner and has supported PLTW programs over the years. Most recently, the partnership enabled us to significantly expand its on-the-ground support for students and teachers. It is with much gratitude we say thank you to the Kern Family Foundation. And finally, the John Deere, which supports our programs in communities across the U.S. where the company's employees live and work. In collaboration with Chevron, John Deere also supports PLTW Engineering Design Competition. This competition is open to PLTW high school students in grades 9 through 11, and registration is now open through mid-April 2019. On behalf of students across the country, we thank these great PLTW sponsors. Thank you.